This video report is about project-based leadership training, and specifically it's around the inquiry of Yori. Yori is one of 100 members, and he's trying to implement a more aggressive project-based leadership training program. So Yori, this message is for you. Project-based leadership training in a nutshell is that you and your students distinguish your school by projects that are embraced by the management and the students regarding things of the management's design and of the students' design. So you may occasionally have a school-wide project, but ideally what I'm trying to do is, if I have 50 or 100 or 200 students, I'm trying to cultivate 50, 100, 200 independent little activists who are taking the martial arts off the mat and putting it to work in their lives. I want solid evidence that what I'm teaching, all of this stuff, is having some sort of impact on them. And a project is anything that requires the student to take action in the community that benefits somebody else or something in the community. If you're my student and the result of our training is you get really good at martial arts, you get really in shape, you're really fit, you really appreciate the benefits of the training, that's level one for me as a teacher. Level two is when your transformation includes your engagement in the community, because the school has to benefit the community. That's the premise that our school operates on. It's not just about fighting or self-defense or carrying on the tradition of the martial arts. We're demanding of ourselves that we take an active, proactive, effective role in the community. We're not going to settle with just being a business or a martial arts school in the classic format of a martial arts school. We're going to be something bigger, grander. And the way we're going to do it is not in one fell swoop, not in a giant activity that clearly personifies who we are, but in 1,000 little steps, executed by 9-year-olds and 15-year-olds and 30-year-olds and 45-year-olds, things that matter to them. Because then we not only benefit the community in who knows how many ways, but I really do what I'm out to do as a teacher, which is to teach my students to take what we practice so diligently on the mat and put it to work in the world. I don't want to dictate how we do that. I want the student, as a part of their training, to say, you know what, this is what I care about right now at this time, and I'm going to do something about it. Grandmaster Junri said to me once, he said, Tom, if a picture is worth 1,000 words, then I think an action is worth 1,000 pictures. And I want your community to have a picture of the depth of your education, what you do, what you're really out to do, because on the surface it looks like violence, It looks like martial arts in any school. But I want your school to paint a picture in your community and have an evidence-based program that says, it looks like we do this, but this is what we really do. And then you build a portfolio of these activities, which every portfolio is a story. Every story is supported by text, and video, and photography, and because all of that has become free for distribution and is just a tool we should use. It's like writing a book online. But so it affects how the community looks at you. And instead of you saying, we teach courtesy, integrity, perseverance, self-control, and all that stuff, all you have to do is say we do a lot of things, but here's a lot of things we've done. And that way, every student contributes to the greater part of the school's reputation. Every student has a chance to practice this engagement in the community. We might call it engaged Buddhism, yeah? Every student who engages in a project gets to do something that foreshadows what they're going to do as entrepreneurs, as family members, coordinating, thinking up projects, coordinating them, making them their own, and operating their life from a place of passion, moving out of inspiration, not out of desperation. So give me the 17-year-old who started at 9, who's already executed a dozen community-based projects. That person has a resume They have a body of evidence of what they care about, and when they bring that to the employer, potential employer, when they bring that to the university, here you show a record of somebody who's really stepped out of the norm. So step number one is you have to be fully aware of why a project is so important, why it's such a natural evolution of your teaching. You have to know that in every cell of your being, because there's no other way to proceed. You already know how to promote martial arts. You already know how to teach. You already know how to build a martial arts champion. I've done all those things. So what is the next level for the master teacher? It is to see this work manifest itself in 1,000 different ways that benefit the community. So we have undeniable evidence, so that you've done so much for the community that they just simply can't say no to you when you suggest that their children practice the martial arts because of its benefits, that they'll be better off because of that. To ask them to support the school because you've done so much for the community. Let's not go out begging for students. Let's go out and affect people viscerally, where it counts, about the things they care about the quality of our life in the community. And then you stand in a place to be the sensei of a community. How do you go about project-based leadership training? You have to learn to use the skills of communicating these stories in a fairly profound way, like a good, solid representation of this is what we do. And you have to find the language through practice, usually, of why you're doing what you're doing. And you may have to write about that or film about that 1,000 times before people go, I get it. If you don't practice it, if you don't get your argument on so that you can convince students and parents, and if you don't craft a lot of projects so that you can understand what's hard about it and what's easy about it, it's going to be really hard for you to teach somebody else. And that might be the second step, is you've got to have a mini course where in the shortest period of time you can teach somebody how to think up a project, why it's important, how to execute it, and how to record it. Because if you can do that, then you're well on the way to building this project portfolio. And once you have all these tools at your command, it's kind of like opening a window, because things fly into it and you're all prepared. Luck is preparation meeting opportunity, right? You're all prepared. You have exercised the power of your ability to influence people. You're able to bring a lot of stuff to any one project. You recognize what you can do and what's probably out of your ability to get things done, and you've nurtured relationships, so when you call people for favors, boom. You've learned crowdfunding. You've done all sorts of things that are precursors to doing a really great program where people come to your school and say, wow, this guy doesn't just teach martial arts. He does that excellently. I've never seen anybody do it better. But what else he or she does is like a leadership program. It's a training program for, for executives, for fully engaged, participative, aware, high-functioning human beings. Look at the things they've done. It's just, I want my kid around these kind of people. That's pretty much the very non-specific, semi-specific instructions of how to get project-based leadership training to be more than something you implement on occasion, but to become the core of your purpose as a teacher. When that happens, when you start to get your head around that, then you'll know how to proceed. And you'll have some failures and you'll have some great successes. But you'll have to exercise that. And remember, it's not about what you do, it's about what your students do and how you learn to tell that story and put it into a context that isn't a sales pitch, but it's just you telling the story of why the martial arts and why your practice of it and what you've learned through all your years of training, what it's all about. You're explaining that in the actions of the people you have an influence with. What we don't have right now in the martial arts community is a solid body of evidence of what we do. 10 years from now, because of this kind of activity, many schools will have these massive portfolios of actions that speak 1,000 times louder than any advertising rhetoric they can say or write. That we'll be proving who we are by the accomplishments we've all achieved. Okay, below this video is a place to add commentary, questions, and let's keep discussing this until you know it as well as you know anything, so that it's not something that takes effort to execute, it's just how you proceed. It's just what you do, because it's the most empowering thing I can think of for a martial arts teacher to embrace.